He will be expected to be there on Monday when their summer league training camp begins.
Jazz are not going to be trading Ace Bailey. If he's playing in the NBA, he's playing for the Utah Jazz.
Are not going to bend here. They are not going to get pushed around. They do not care.
So picture this. You're watching the 2025 NBA draft. The clock is ticking down for the Utah Jazz at pick number 5. Commissioner Adam Silver walks to the podium, and the name he announces sends shockwaves through Barclays Center.
The Utah Jazz select Arius Ace Bailey.
The cameras immediately pan to Ace Bailey's face, and what millions of viewers witness instantly becomes viral content. The 18-year-old phenom, who ESPN's Jonathan Givony called arguably the best tough shot maker in college basketball, looks like someone just told him that Christmas was canceled. He's visibly stunned, appearing to fight back tears, and the very first words that he says on the hot mic was, "I've never been to Utah." I mean, look at this picture. This is supposed to be one of the greatest moments of his life, and Ace Bailey looks pissed. And this is the beginning of a very unique war that we don't typically see in the NBA. We're gonna cover everything. Before we get to the content, we have been going crazy on this channel, uploading every piece of NBA news for you guys. We want to keep you guys updated all off season long, so make sure you're subscribed, you have your notifications on, and you're also following us on Instagram, TikTok, and X, because we are working round the clock to try to bring you the latest NBA news. And now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Before I dive into the chaos, I want to tell you who Ace Bailey is in the event that you guys missed our last video on him. Ace Bailey was such a coveted prospect that he should have easily been a top 3 pick in the NBA draft. At 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, Bailey put up ridiculous numbers at Rutgers: 17.6 points, 7.2 rebounds, and shooting 46% from the field. But those stats don't really tell the full story. The kid scored 39 points against Indiana, the second most by a visiting player in Assembly Hall history. Kevin Durant himself said,
I mean, Ace is a pure talent. Being able to shoot the ball with that type of touch from anywhere is insane. The shots that he can make over multiple people at that length.
And here's where things get spicy. Bailey wasn't just any top prospect. He was a prospect with a plan, and that plan certainly didn't include Salt Lake City. According to ESPN's reporting, Bailey had made it crystal clear which teams he wanted to play for. The Washington Wizards at number 6, the New Orleans Pelicans at number 7, or the Brooklyn Nets at number 8. Notice something that's missing from that list? Yeah, it's the Utah Jazz at 5. They weren't even in the conversation. But Bailey and his team didn't just have preferences, they took action. He canceled a workout with the Philadelphia 76ers just 2 days before it was scheduled. He declined workout invitations from multiple teams. In fact, he became the only US-based prospect yet to visit any teams, according to draft analysts. His manager, Omar Cooper, defended this approach, saying every team watched him work out in Chicago. He did 18 interviews. Everyone got his medical. They watched him run and jump. The most explosive revelation was ESPN reported that Bailey's representatives actually told at least one team drafting in the top 5 that they didn't want that team to select him, and he wouldn't report if it did. While the specific team wasn't named, the message was clear. Ace Bailey was trying to steer his own ship. And this is where things get really interesting, because what truly happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? In this case, the unstoppable force was Bailey's determination to control his destiny, and the immovable object was by far one of the most unique front offices in the NBA, Austin Ainge and the Utah Jazz front office. Brian Windhorst put it perfectly on ESPN.
Danny Ainge and his son Austin are not going to bend here. They are not going to get pushed around. They do not care with what this situation might bring.
The Jazz had the 5th overall pick, and they believed Ace Bailey was the best player available, and they weren't about to let an 18-year-old dictate their draft strategy. So when Bailey's name was called, the reaction was immediate and visceral. Social media exploded. One viral tweet said that Ace Bailey getting drafted to Utah after publicly announcing he doesn't want to go there. But here's what makes this even more fascinating. Bailey's own words on draft night revealed just how blindsided blindsided he was. When asked about the Jazz's interest, he responded that he had no idea. Think about that for a second. This wasn't a case where a player knew a team liked him but hoped they'd pass. Bailey genuinely thought he'd successfully steered Utah away, and the immediate aftermath was telling. While fellow Jazz draft pick Walter Clayton Jr. was on a plane to Salt Lake City the next day, Ace Bailey was nowhere to be found. ESPN's Brian Windhorst reported on June 27th,
He did not go to Utah today. Walter Clayton, their other first-round draft pick, did go to Utah today. It's not an issue. They allow their new players to go home. He will be expected to be there on Monday when their summer league training camp begins. Let's see.
Now here's where things get really interesting from a business perspective. As the 5th overall pick, Bailey is looking at approximately $6.8 million in his rookie season alone, with a 4-year deal worth over $30 million. To put that into perspective, if Bailey had gotten his wish and fallen to Washington at 6, he'd be looking at roughly $13 million less over those 4 years. That's generational wealth we're talking about, and it's guaranteed money as long as he actually signs the contract. And Shams laid this all out on draft night.
Jazz are not going to be trading Ace Bailey. If he's playing in the NBA, he's playing for the Utah Jazz. That's just a matter of the circumstance right now. So, I mean, unless Ace Bailey is sitting out the NBA season and forfeiting close to $10 million in his first year salary, like, that would be unprecedented.
Now, Bailey wouldn't be the first player to try this move, because there were similar situations in NBA history that went down like this. The most famous example is Kobe Bryant in 1996. The Charlotte Hornets drafted him 13th overall, but Kobe and his agent had orchestrated limited pre-draft workouts specifically to steer him away from teams they didn't want. Jerry West and the Lakers were in on the plan, and Charlotte traded Kobe to LA for Vlade Divac. The result? 5 championships and a Hall of Fame career, which is not bad for a draft day diva. Then there's Steve Francis in 1999. The Vancouver Grizzlies took him 2nd overall, and Francis straight up refused to play for them. His reasons ranged from the distance from his Maryland home to Canadian taxes to, and I'm not making this up, claiming it was God's will that he will not play in Vancouver. The Grizzlies eventually traded him to Houston in a massive 3-team 11-player deal, and Francis went on to become co-rookie of the year and a 3-time All-Star. Then there was Danny Ferry in 1989. The Clippers drafted him 2nd overall, and Ferry's response was to sign a 1-year deal with a team in Rome. He spent the entire season overseas, averaging 23 points per game, before the Clippers finally traded him to Cleveland, where he signed a 10-year $34 million guaranteed contract. The pattern is clear here. Teams usually blink first, but there's a key difference between those situations and Bailey's. Those players had leverage. Kobe had the Italian league option through his dad's connections. Francis was willing to sit out. Ferry literally left the continent. What's Bailey's leverage? And this is where the story takes an interesting turn. Unlike those previous situations, the Utah Jazz are showing zero signs of panic. In fact, they seem almost amused by the whole thing. Jazz owner Ryan Smith appeared on the Pat McAfee show and delivered this gem.
I got a chance to talk to Ace last night. You know, all I saw was a kid who was humble, he was grateful, he was excited to be in the NBA. The reality is there's nothing that Ace and others can't accomplish here.
When asked about Bailey's reluctance, Smith got philosophical.
I think you went down the entire draft board and you're like, okay, where's everyone's preferred destination? It's probably not the right move for them where they think it is in their head.
Austin Ainge, the team's president of basketball operations, was even more direct. He called draft night a dream scenario and said Bailey was exactly who they wanted. When reporters pressed about Bailey's preferences, Ainge's response was basically a shrug. They did their homework, everyone they talked to loved being around Bailey, and they got their guy. Coach Will Hardy, who just signed an extension through 2031, hasn't publicly commented much, but sources indicate that he's excited about Bailey's potential in Utah's system. The Jazz finished 17-65 last season, literally the worst record in franchise history. Bailey wouldn't just get playing time, he'd be the focal point of their offense from day one. But just when you thought this couldn't get any more complicated, Bailey's representation entered the chat. On June 27th, Andrew Whitley, the president of GSE Worldwide and one of Bailey's agents, went on the Front Office Sports podcast to do damage control, saying he's thrilled to be going to Utah. Obviously, it's an honor to be selected in the top 5 of the NBA draft, and we think he can do a lot of great things out there. I mean, it's really interesting when you'd say that when his agent literally went on national TV and said this.
Asked Omar Cooper his thoughts on his client's future in Utah, and he declined to answer those questions.
I mean, the kid who looked devastated on draft night is now supposed to be thrilled. Whitley continued by saying, "We think Utah is one of the best places he could have gone. Certainly should get a ton of playing time, and he'll have a lot of chances to show what he can do." The plot thickens when you realize Bailey's representation structure is a bit unusual. Omar Cooper is listed as his manager, but isn't an NBPA certified agent. Andrew Whitlieb and Danny Green are the actual certified agents handling negotiations. Cooper had been the one steering Bailey away from certain teams, focusing on fit rather than going third in the draft. The whole situation led Draymond Green to go off on his podcast, saying, "You're walking into the NBA with a strike. You're walking in with a question mark on character." And even Paul George chimed in, criticizing Bailey's approach. "You're not in a position to be making those types of demands. Make it to the league first." So you might be wondering what happens next, and there are really three options. Currently, at the time that we're recording this video, Bailey is expected to report to Utah by June 30th for Summer League training camp. The Salt Lake City Summer League starts in July 5th, followed by the Vegas Summer League. And this is where the rubber meets the road. There's really only a few ways this can play out. The first option is the compliance route. Bailey shows up, puts on the Utah Jazz jersey, and balls out. And history suggests that this is the most likely outcome. Once the games start and the checks start clearing, most draft controversies fade away. Look at Steve Francis. He eventually became a Houston legend, despite initially refusing to play for Vancouver. The second option is Ace Bailey holds out. So Bailey could theoretically refuse to sign his rookie contract and sit out. But remember that $30 million we talked about? That's a lot of money to leave on the table for an 18-year-old. Plus, the Utah Jazz would retain his rights, meaning that he couldn't just sign elsewhere. This would be financial suicide. The third option is a trade. Maybe Bailey reports, plays nice for a year or two, and then forces his way out once he's established. This is what Kawhi Leonard and Paul George did, but that requires patience. And based on his pre-draft behavior, patience doesn't seem to be Bailey's strong suit. Shams seems convinced about which way this will go. This isn't the first time a player wanted to go somewhere else and then didn't land at the team he wanted to go to. That's just the draft. But here's what fascinates me the most about this situation. We're watching a collision between old school NBA management and new school player empowerment. The Ainge family has been in the league for decades. They've seen every trick in the book. Austin Ainge calling this his dream scenario wasn't just a PR spin, it was a message. The message: we're not intimidated by your threats. On the flip side, Bailey represents a new generation of players who've grown up watching stars force trades and control their destination. From LeBron James's decision, Kevin Durant going to the Warriors, James Harden every time he tried to force his way to a new team. The problem is that Bailey isn't a superstar yet. He's an 18-year-old who put up some nice numbers at Rutgers. The financial reality also can't be ignored. The rookie scale was specifically designed to prevent these types of holdouts. It's standardized, non-negotiable money. Bailey can't threaten to sign for more money elsewhere. That option doesn't exist. His only leverage would be sitting out entirely, and again, who's walking away from $30 million guaranteed when you're 18 years old? And I don't understand why players are so reluctant to play in Utah. As a person that's visited Utah before, I think it's a beautiful place to live, especially in the summertime when the sun sets at 10 p.m. I think that's awesome. But it's not just Bailey. The Jazz have historically struggled to attract free agents. The market is small, the nightlife is limited, and yes, the cultural fit can be challenging for some players. But here's what players who actually play in Utah often say. The fans are incredible, the organization's first class, and the lack of distractions can actually help young players focus on development. Donovan Mitchell became an all-star there. Rudy Gobert won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. The Jazz have a track record of developing talent. They have new ownership and a tech billionaire in Ryan Smith, a young coach in Will Hardy, and a clear vision for rebuilding. They're not asking Bailey to save a contending team. They're offering him the keys to help build something from the ground up. And we're going to keep you guys up to date on this story because it's honestly not a story that I was expecting this NBA draft. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about the Ace Bailey situation? Aside from that, I don't know if you guys heard, but Austin Reeves is making a threat to the Los Angeles Lakers, and it could result in him leaving the Lakers for good. I made a completely separate video on that. I'm going to leave it in the end screen to meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.